Test, test. What? Test, test.
Is not going away anytime soon, and mostly because it's like such an accepted uh, uh, infrastructure, right? We've got Cloud Active Directory, which we'll go into, in a later session, because it definitely bears to take a look at how Active Directory is changing in today's environment. But not having a server on site to me is, I don't know. It's a little crazy, and call me a dinosaur, but I really believe that having those resources in your network, accessible to your end users, is better. And a lot of companies, and I'll tell you, when I was working with Nerds That Care, they were in the business of trying to fit every single square business into a round hole, um, to kind of make make the businesses bend to the new cloud infrastructure. And it didn't work for a lot of companies, and I'll tell you why. Connecting all your workstations to shared folders is a really easy thing to do in Active Directory when you're on-prem. But man, when you take that server out of the on-prem environment and you're connecting to and they actually call it a blob, when you take that out and you're connecting everybody individually to a shared folder that's out in the cloud, you ever see like in your OneDrive? I mean, we all use OneDrive, right? Have you ever like looked at the link when OneDrive is integrated into your desktop, and you open up the file folder, the file explorer, and you look at the link to where your OneDrive actually is? It's kind of fucked up because it's cached on your machine. So when you think about it, now you've got a copy of all the data that you're working with everywhere, right? It's like it's caching on everybody's machine individually. And if you ask me, I just think it's a fucked up model. And that's just me. I mean, I could probably have a really good debate, kind of like um, what you call a Bill Maher style debate, which somebody like,
No,
uh,
I keep it totally off myself at home, you know.
well, it's really good. I mean, listen,
Oh,
I'm a big
on my
OneDrive
main
fan. I'm a
PC. On
huge
my main
OneDrive fan.
PC though, you know what I mean? Like I just don't want my desktop being, but on like other devices I'll turn it on, but not
Well,
my main
the reason why I like OneDrive is because people do save files and information on their local machine, even if they're joined to Active Directory on-prem or even in the cloud. They still go to that My Documents folder and they still drop stuff in there. And the mission of OneDrive is to sync that stuff out into the cloud, and that's a good idea because when let's say you've got somebody with a laptop and the laptop falls and the hard drive crashes, or somebody runs over it with their car or something like that, and you've got a destroyed workstation, right? That you can't get back. There's no saving it, right? It fell in the pool, whatever, right? And you log this person into a new machine, and you connect to OneDrive, and poof, everything's there. Their downloads, their desktop, their documents, everything that they had before is there. They connect into their 365 email, and boom, basically user setup. Have a nice day. Go and have fun with your life.
Oh no,
It,
yeah, I just want to say we kept it on at work. Just at home I keep it off, you know? Like that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
I hope you got a backup of your data. I mean, because not having OneDrive on a machine to me is, and not having a backup solution, and the part of
Well,
a home backup solution is that you have to do it. Nobody does. Oh yeah,
See,
back it up to a
I'm a
USB
bit
drive.
of
When was
an
the last time you ran the backup?
I'm a bit of an odd bird. I run like my 5080 like 9800 X3D for like just gaming, right? And that has like nothing, no important data. But then I have another like not old, but it's an i7 8700 2080 Super Rig, and that really has all my actual data. So it's like weird. I'm a weird person who has like
No,
a
no, a
weirdly
lot of people have dedicated game machines.
yeah.
I personally feel, and I'll say this in front of Tom because I know he's going to want to like smack me through the computer.
What?
Um, that I think that if you're going to take your career seriously, it's probably at some point you have to decide when to step away from gaming as a career choice. Okay, not saying it's not to do it, not saying that it's bad, not saying that it's not a great enjoyment thing. Because man, I'll tell you something, I'd love to get a Quake 3 arena fucking LAN game going with some friends because it was fun as fuck. Okay, but at some point in time, you should be, if you're serious about your career, you should be studying like we're doing here, and you should be, really pushing, and I push everybody to this, especially the young and upcoming guys like Christian, you know, that you should be getting better at your art. Because let me tell you something, I've been doing this stuff for 30 fucking years, and I still don't even come close to knowing everything. Okay,
Oh
there's
yeah.
stuff
The
I
second
just
piece is like I'll lab the hell out of it. Like I'm a networker, but so I'll lab it out, But like the other PC I keep them separate. Like I think of it as like a console, the other
yeah,
PC.
two separate worlds, right?
Yeah,
Well, I'm going to tell you
but
something.
I don't see
Give you a good
myself getting
example.
anywhere as a
Let me
gamer,
give you a good example of something that I just learned about today. Okay, I'm doing a server migration for one of our clients. Right, we have their old file server has got like 25 freaking printers shared on it. Right, and I just learned today about a program called printbrm.exe. Now, if you don't know what that is, I definitely suggest, like Scott, you can, you've got ChatGPT open, right? Pop the question to your ChatGPT bot. Say, explain to me the Windows utility printbrm.exe and how I can use it to migrate a bunch of printers from one server to another Windows server. And it's going to give you a whole rundown about how to use this thing. I didn't know that thing was there, okay, before today. So, to think that, like, oh, you know enough. I mean, you never know enough. There's stuff built in on this printbrm, all one word, .exe. The you never know everything, okay? As much as you might think that you know a lot, and you probably do, right? There's some dude out there that knows more than you fucking do. And then there's stuff that that dude doesn't know about. Everybody's got a different skill set, right? And if like some people are really good at networking, right? Like one of the guys I work with, he's like super good at networking. He's just like he get as good as I am with networking, he's better than me, but I'm better than him at servers. So we kind of balance each other out in a way. He fixed a fucking huge problem today for one of our clients, and we don't even have the contract. We don't even have the agreement with this company to do their networks. We don't have the logins to their switches or routers. It's a separate company. It's something that kind of happened a long time ago with the company because when they got their phone system, my company didn't do phones, and so they said, my company suggested, hey, you should go with these guys to do your networking and switches and routers and stuff. So even though like they got eaten up by Xerox, now imagine like trying to call, yahoo.com for, talk, on-prem tech support. There's like nobody's there to help you. There's some help screens. There's a bot, but you're not talking to a human being at Amazon or Yahoo or anything like that to try to help you, do something. Okay. Um, Long story short, is with the use of AI today, I wanted to know, hey, is there maybe a PowerShell script that I could suck these printer configurations out with the drivers, with everything? How could I do that? Okay. And Chat GPT shows me this utility. Hey, here's how you can export all your data into like an XML file. And it's not even an XML file, but I looked at it in Notepad. It's kind of like an XML file. And then you import this into your other server, and everything will be there. Or even the shares will be created. I'm like, what manner of voodoo is this? I never saw it before. And I haven't gotten it to work yet because I've been, like trying to get through a couple of hurdles, but I'm going to get it to work tomorrow. No two ways about it. And I mean, what a fucking time saver. I mean, like there is the amount of time that I'm going to save with this one utility is, I mean, I don't have to tell you, Tom, think about it. Like, how long would it take you to set up 25 freaking printers? Forever, right? Like the better part of a day, right?
Right, yeah. Because you got to
And
figure
to
out what the
reshare
IPs
them,
are.
right? And to redeploy them using GPOs and everything. I mean, okay, the GPO part, I don't think there's any way we can do that except, point the GPOs to the new printers, the new print shares, right? But they're named the same. So all you really have to do is just take the string, that the URL, sorry, the UNC path to that printer and just change it with the new server name, and voila, it's going to work, right? I mean, so the whole thing what I'm trying to get at here is to say that there is always something new to learn, and you should be spending your spare time, not your whole damn life, but your spare time, if you think about it, if you were in college, how much time would you be studying for that exam at the end of the week? How much time would you be studying just to keep up with your class, right? You should treat your career like it's a full-time learning experience all the time, right? And do everything you can to learn. Now, look what Scott built here. He built a sandbox for us to play in, but he's also using it to learn more about our craft, about what we do, right? And the cool thing about that is that anybody could do this. You could take like an AMD workstation that we built in Hunter Business School with 4 cores and 8 gigs of RAM, add a little memory to it, and poof, you've got yourself an ESXi server or a Proxmox server, and you could practice working with those platforms. Open up the SSH connection to do secure shell to that machine. Talk to it from the command line, you see Scott's on the screen. Scott's got his own Proxmox box, and it's really easy. It's easier than ESXi because there's a button right at the top. You want to go to the shell? Boom! There's a shell button right on the top, and he's in it. And you don't even have to log into it. You're already logged in. It knows you. What a brilliant system. Proxmox is definitely going to be up and coming as a platform standard for virtualization. So it would behoove everybody to get to know it. It's got everything that Hyper-V and ESXi has. It's just laid out differently. And the really cool thing about this is if Scott, if you could bring that back up for 1 second, the Proxmox interface. Thank you, sir. Look on the left-hand side. You see he named his first Proxmox box PVE. Okay, that's the name of the box. And then you've got the virtuals that are on it underneath it, along with the storage that machine has. Okay. Now, when you do a second Proxmox machine, it shows up on that same tree. And where you have to pay like minimum for 2 servers to talk to each other using vSphere on the VMware platform would be around $9,000 at a very bare minimum. That's what it would cost for you to connect 2 servers together which would enable you to do vMotion, to move a virtual machine from one physical box to another physical box. Okay, Proxmox has it built in for free, and it's a free download. Okay, you want to do it in a corporate environment, you want to pay for support. They have some very attractively priced plans to bring this into your environment with complete with support, because it's always nice to have somebody on the phone. Unfortunately, the only thing about Proxmox is they're still too small of a company to do live phone support. So most of their support is done through platforms like what's that chat program that you guys always used in class? God, I can't remember.
Discord.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't remember that. I'm in my head.
Hey,
I'm seeing the
when I was
little
in
icons
class with
spinning
you,
around.
like, because that's been we were that for me. It's like 10 years. I don't even think Discord was out when we were in class though, but it's probably Discord.
Yeah, no, it was. It was. And you know who there's a lot of other platforms that use Discord for their support. Uh there's a program that we used to use, but we kind of walked away from it, called ImiBot. You may have heard of it.
Oh, we used
Uh,
to use Ventrilo, and
Ventrilo is a
Yeah, I use
a
that.
competitor for ImiBot.
yeah,
You know, like, and it's really, those tools are very good for deploying software to multiple machines. Couple of clicks and boom, your script just runs out in the cloud, and all of a sudden that machine that you pointed at all of a sudden has that program pre-configured with the user's information in it, and the end user's just using it. Very, very high tech stuff, very cool stuff. Um, so the Proxmox platform, just in a nutshell, is free, and you can support an unlimited number of physical boxes, um, which you'd see on the left hand side, and you can see, just open up that physical box, and you can see all your virtuals, and you can connect to them, through a like an RDP kind of connection. It's got a bunch of really cool stuff that VMware charges a ton of money for, and like they're going to learn, just like Novell NetWare, learn the hard way, that if you're going to try to sell what everybody else is giving away for free, if you're going to try to sell stuff at a premium, you're going to go out of business really quick, and Broadcom is going to learn the hard way.
yeah, and
Hate
that's
to,
exactly what Discord did. Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So, these up and coming companies like Proxmox, like the people who make Proxmox, they're running their company with, like, I don't know, maybe 20 people. It's all uh what you call it, public coding, open source coding. It's running on Linux, and it's secure, solid as a rock, can't be attacked. It's just a great platform. It's kind of like the Datto appliances that we use for backing up, that we have on prem at most of our clients over at Central. They're impossible to attack. You can't attack them over the LAN. It's just no way to do it. You can open
Yeah,
up you
the
can open
box
up an
was
HTTP to it, but good luck logging in. You're not going to get past that. You're just
yeah, we
not.
moved over to Datto at one point, and then we had their box that just like backed up and would just beam a computer over. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
didn't
I mean,
matter. Nothing mattered. It was
I
crazy.
I used to refer to Datto when I first saw it as Star Trek level backups, because
Yeah,
it
that's
was
even it looks
literally,
crazy. It
it
looks like
was,
Star Trek, right?
well, not because it looks like Star Trek, because it's literally so perfect for the job.
Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
does exactly what you need. Oh, by the way, your server went down. Great. Just virtualize in the Datto appliance. It is its own hypervisor. I was looking at this going, what the actual fuck bubbles is this fucking craziness that I'm looking at here? It was like, for the time when I first saw it, I wasn't ready. I was just like, wow, wow. And so Rubrik is another product that does the same thing. They're the competitor to Datto. There's other backup solutions out there that are just fine for what you're using it for, but I've not seen anything like the ease of use of the Datto system. The 2 seconds you find out how all of your clients are doing. I'm going to share my screen really quick. Put it right here. Okay. So let me just bring this window over here. Okay, this is my Datto front page. This is my BCDR status page. I need to log back into it, but just to show you here, every green dot is a good backup. And most of my servers are backing up once an hour, doing a differential. And, look at this. I can see right here. Okay, see, this is one of our customers that doesn't use, they moved on, and they're not a customer anymore. They're offline, and their data's been offline. They still owe us money for it, so we're kind of holding on to it. Here's the company that I've been doing the new server I was telling you about. We're going to be replacing this server here called File Server, and the new server is EOC File Server 2, which that's going to be the new name of it. And today I decommissioned EOC-DC3, a domain controller, in favor for the new domain controller that's running on the ESXi box that we have there. So you want to talk about easy as hell, right? Let me just log back in and show you this really quick. Give me 2 seconds to just do my MFA.
Oh, the memories from the screen.
Come on, you can do it. Okay, and go to BCDR status. Go down to EOC Suffolk. And now we remote web right into their appliance, okay? Now to add a server to this system, you just go to Protect, Add New Agent, okay? Now, I don't recall the IP address off the top of my head, so I'm going to look here, and this is DC4 with 192.168.0.4, okay? So I'm going to do agent-based system, 192.168.0.4, right? I'm going to use new settings. We're not going to encrypt anything, right? Don't need to. Okay. When would you like to back up? Every hour? You could back up every 5 minutes. Starting at, I always start at 6 and I end at 8, right? And I always do every day, not just Monday through Friday, because people work on the weekends. Retention for local backups is 3 months, but the cloud is basically unlimited. Look, retention for cloud backups forever, right? You can sing along with me, right? And next. Now, who's going to get notified? This is weekly backup reports. We're going to get, my boss is going to get just weekly backup reports, and my IT support email is going to get these, and that's basically it. Okay, go all the way down, confirm, give it 2 seconds to chew on it, and you're done. This thing's backing up. Now, because it's 7:30, right? It'll probably grab a backup automatically, but we can force it really easily by just going back over to here. You'll see there's EOC DC4 at the IP address, right? Start a backup. I know I have the agent already installed. That was installed yesterday. or Friday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday I installed it. And you can look at the logs. And in a few seconds, you're going to see this counter up here start to move data. And once you see it start to move data, you can move on with your life and order your pizza. See this? There you go. Ta-da! And this thing will be backed up. And the cool thing it also does is in the backup process, it launches the machine in the hypervisor and does what's called a screenshot proof. Okay, that it actually booted inside of the hypervisor. So the last screenshot right here for this server was at 6:05 today, and we can look at it. It booted that server inside of the platform. Nobody logged in, nobody did anything. They just checked it, made sure it was networked, made sure it was talking, make sure it was pulsing, make sure the heartbeat was going, and then it did a screenshot, and it's there for your inspection. Now you see this one here failed, right? And most of the time you see it's doing updates or something like that, and it catches the screenshot a little early, and it calls that a failed screenshot. But you can see there's nothing failed about this. It's fine. It just didn't get to the login screen, right? So, how is that for like one of the coolest things? You don't have to worry about this thing anymore. You want to restore this thing? Let's talk about a restore really quick, okay? Very simple. I've got a restore from file server that was done on the 11th that I was using to seed the data move from the old file server to the new file server. It's about a terabyte worth of data on the D drive, or E drive actually. And I'm using that to like seed the data so that when I do my PowerShell robocopy, I'm just doing stuff that's changed, okay? And so when I'm getting ready to actually cut over, I run the PowerShell command, and that basically runs in about less than a half an hour. And then I shut the old system down, launch the new system, and then let everybody reboot and let group policies take over, okay? So basically, to do a restore, pick a server, right? Any server, right? We could take DC3, which is now decommissioned, right? But look at this. It already has data for DC4, and I just put it in there, okay? But let's take a look at file server, okay? If I want to do this server, right, I've got several different ways to do this. I could do simple file restore, right? Somebody says, hey, could you get me that Excel file in my folder back from last week? Yeah, sure, no problem. That's what that's for. Oh, I deleted an entire folder and it's not in the recycle bin. Could you get it back for me? Yeah, definitely. That's your first choice right there. A volume restore is kind of cool, where it takes the entire volume, C drive, D drive, E drive, whatever drive it might be, and it makes an iSCSI target, which is basically, if you don't know what iSCSI is just a network location, and when it turns, like everything you see in like disk management, like if you open up disk mgmt.msc, in disk management, the screen you've seen before, every drive you see in this screen is pointing to, the data is pointing to what's called a LUN, a logical unit, that where, how does it find the hard drive? It finds it through the LUN ID, okay? So an iSCSI target is just a hard drive LUN that points to a network location that is using the network protocol called iSCSI, Internet SCSI, Small Computer System Interface. You probably, the younger guys probably don't remember SCSI, or SCSI as we called it. It was the hard drive standard for servers back in the day, and there was iSCSI network is there was SCSI 2, Fast SCSI 2, SCSI 3, Ultra SCSI. There's all different flavors of SCSI, and basically it was like a a ribbon cable that attached to each hard drive, and you can install up to 16 hard drives in that ribbon cable, right? And it just basically used binary, like 4 bits of data to it was, sorry, 15 possible hard drives, right? You pin the hard drives with little jumper switches, like binary bits, one from right to left, reading 1, 2, 4, and 8. So depending on how you pinned it up, if you pinned the first pin and the last pin, that was SCSI ID 9, because you pinned up the 8 and you pinned up the 1, adds up to 9. That's SCSI ID 9. And from there, you can take that and turn it into a RAID. Let's say with 3 drives, you could do a RAID 5. You could do a mirrored drive with 2 drives, and you could do RAID 1.0 if you have 4 drives or more, or more, right? And so basically, iSCSI is on every single Windows machine. If you go to the control panel and you go to the advanced settings, and they took it away on Windows 11 on desktops. So I'm just going to do this. The iSCSI initiator, SCSI initiator, right? So it's in there still, okay? And you just hit yes to start the service, and it comes up in a couple of seconds, and you have a target, right, which I'm going to show you right here. This is what an iSCSI target looks like, and this was the iSCSI target for that restore that I did, that you see in the data, and you just basically copy that, and that's your target, right? Quick connect, bing, and you connect to it, and now it shows up in your disk management like it's another fucking hard drive on your machine. It's like magic. Is there problems with it? Yeah, it's a little skittish. There's, how should I say, it's not 100% reliable. It does have its personalities, let's say, but it is kind of a cool old technology that's still around. And like you can see this, like archaeology is still there. This exact same screen was in Windows NT Workstation and NT Server back in the day, and followed Windows desktop versions all through the years, right? So is it like you think about it, it's like everybody connecting in a different way to a shared drive, but you're attaching to the shared entire drive. So in what we do today is we do shared folders on our Windows Server, which we know. Okay, so you could do another way to restore local virtualization. Boot this puppy right in this box, okay, right on the appliance. Virtualize in the cloud. Got a cloud account, you're on Amazon, you're on Azure, you go through this and you say, okay, let's log into our tenant and decide where we're going to put this and how we're going to pay for it. Very cool. If you lose a building, like I want you to think about like disaster recovery for a second. Christian, you said you're going to be studying security. Well, one of the things we study in security is the ability to recover from disaster recovery, and business continuity. How quickly do we get this company back up and running after the building burns down, after a meteor hits the building, after a bomb goes off or something like that? There's the ability to virtualize in another hypervisor. This is local virtualization right on this box. This allows you to connect to another system, right? Because you can do that right up here. Go to configure, hypervisor connections. You can connect directly to your Hyper-V. You can connect directly to your ESXi. Those are the 2 main supported platforms. Sorry, unfortunately, Proxmox is not yet supported, but you can just point it and say, okay, I've already set up my hypervisor connection. I'm going to virtualize in another hypervisor, and it'll say, okay, you've got these hypervisors set up. Where do you want to go? I'm going to create this machine. It's going to be up and running on my ESXi box number 6. and it's going to use this data store, and it's going to give this name, and it's going to have this NIC card and this IP address, and the thing just launches. Okay. EXI uploads. You can upload a restore point to an ESXi box. This is if you're already connected to an ESXi system. Your data saves all the restore points that your ESXi box did for every single VM that you have. So you can take a restore point from that server, and the next thing it'll ask you once you say is, when is that restore point that you want to get? And you just pick the date and time, and you say, okay, boom, it connects to your hypervisor, and you are back up and running from that save point. Bare metal restore, oldie but a goodie. You want to restore this thing to a machine, an actual machine, a server. Beautiful. Let's say none of these choices works out for you, but would you like to save the hard drives to a either raw VHD, VHDX, VMDK, or VMDK linked? VMDK linked is just basically a VMDK with restore points attached to it. So, which you really shouldn't do, but sometimes that's all you captured, that's what you have, right? It gives you all these options to do a restore. It is Star Trek, literally Star Trek. You could take that VMDK and SSH it, do it SC, a secure copy it right into the directory you want it in, and just go into your web interface, or even at the SSH shell, and launch it right there. It literally one of the coolest, greatest things from a standpoint of being able to recover from a disaster. Because get this, this is all out in the cloud. Okay, so even if the appliance burned with the rest of the building, okay, you still have the ability to go right back to here, okay, and get into your cloud system. Okay, you could do anything you want right from up here. Okay, so this is it's a system that even says, okay, we lost the box. Okay, but we still got the cloud backups, and you can go back and you can look and see, okay, where are my cloud backups? Well, let's find out really quick. Let's go to EOC file server, because we used that before. Manage recovery points. It tells you where it is. Exists in the cloud. That one's out in the cloud. It doesn't keep all of them because, let's face it, storage is kind of expensive. But even if we lost the box, we have a backup in the cloud that can be recovered from 8:01 p.m. on the 11th yesterday. Okay, it's going to make another one tonight. Okay, so you can go down here and you can say, load more. I got more. Keep going. Got another one out in the cloud from the 10th. See, it does that every day, right? And you can restore one of your boxes from the cloud. You don't need the box. It's Star Trek, literally Star Trek. Any questions on this voodoo?
Nope.
Always a good idea to keep enough room on your local storage to be able to virtualize if you need to, right? So if we were going to do virtualization on this box, we would need room to mount that image, and that server would need breathing room to exist in. So I always like to keep my local storage, at about 50%-ish, because we could always go into any one of our servers and delete some of these restore points, right? So let's say we go into here and let's see. Well, that's EOC4. We just did that. Let's go to here, right? You can see the size of these things. We can delete them, right, to make room. Okay, let's say we're going to use this one, right? But we don't need these, right? So you can just highlight them, and you just go right down here and say delete these. So you've got so many, easy options to deal with your disaster recovery solution. Basically, when someone who's like putting together a continuity report, let's say for HIPAA or Sarbanes-Oxley compliance or PCI compliance, and they come to you and say, "So, how's your backups?" You basically look at them and go, "What do you need? What do you need? We have everything you could possibly ask for, and a bunch of shit you'd never thought of." Pretty cool, huh?
Oh yeah, the when we got that installed, like it actually blew my mind how good
Oh my God.
it like brought a computer back up after it was damaged, you know?
I got one data over at um, A&Z Pharmaceutical. It's a monster. It's like 10 terabytes. But it's also backing up like a fuck ton of servers.
Yeah, no, that's why it's good I got to see this because there was two of us for that corporation and like the other guy was I did more like the endpoint detect. I was working with the VSA aspects of it a lot. I did like use the backups, but it was good I got to see those dashboards more as I wasn't really in there much, you know?
Well, now you can put this on your resume and say, yes, I'm familiar with data. And by
Yeah,
extension, you're
exactly.
also familiar with rubric because rubric is very similar to the data. So it's like kind of like, are you familiar with Hyper-V? Sure. Well, then you're also fucking familiar with every other virtualization platform because they're basically all the same thing. You got a virtual hard drive, you got virtual networking, virtual memory, virtual CPU. It's basically the same thing. It's just the menus are laid out differently. That's the only difference.
I remember the first thing I did out of class was I was working with a, an intern thing, and it was VMware and VMsphere, and that's what we did there.
Yeah, vSphere used to be, like something that wasn't that expensive. Used to be reasonable.
Yeah, back in the day, this was so like I think this was over like at this point it's
See,
like
now
it's over.
VMware pricing is by CPU and it's by subscription, right? So I figured out that the minimum, if you were going to use vSphere on one server, just one server alone, right? The minimum amount of CPUs that you can license is 75. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've only a couple of times like seen a few servers with 75 CPUs in it. Um, that's their lowest buy-in, okay, at like 150 per CPU per year, right? Do the math. It's like 10 grand, 10 grand a year for that subscription. So this is why companies are leaving VMware and moving towards solutions like Proxmox. So Scott, why don't we do some service stuff?
I also found it just a worse
Okay.
GUI, you know, it was a worse GUI. Yeah.
Say that again, bro.
I didn't like the GUI of VMware and VMsphere versus like the way like other ones, you know, look.
It's okay. I think Proxmox's web interface is a little bit cooler and more like modern than the VMware. But they're both okay. They both get the job done. And
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
that you need to use, anything that you need to do, you can go to the SSH shell and do whatever you want through, open up your PuTTY and go right into the command prompt. Just as I always say, measure twice, cut once. Be careful. Because in that command line interface, once you do a thing, it's done. So
Be done.
be careful before you fire.
Mm. Let me just close this
Okay,
out.
so
I don't need this right now.
let's
This is my next cloud thing I'm working on. That's going
yeah,
on this.
that's kind of cool. We definitely should talk a little bit
Oh.
about this.
Over Media Vault? It's okay. I just used it. It's just because I'm using it on that Zima board. But this, remember that you see this up here real quick? This
Mhm.
Weather Star thing? Yeah, here
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is. Actually, this is the wrong one. This is the one. This is actually being hosted on that machine. And it's got the, you hear
Yeah.
that?
Barely.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's like a guy talking about what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's the cheesy Weather Channel music from the 80s.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I actually
Let's
found a Docker container. So let's go into, what do you want me to go?
let's go to our. We've got 2 servers. I assume you spun up 2 servers.
Yeah, these are brand new, not been
Okay.
touched. The only
Okay,
thing I
so-
did was name them and statically address them so I can get into them.
Beautiful. Let's open up the server manager on the one on the left-hand side first. Let's, go full screen with that and go to server manager.
Hmm.
Okay. This is
And-
basically, where you start off with your server. Okay. So let's talk about Active Directory from a purely, how should I say, a purely philosophical standpoint for a second. Where let's talk about what Active Directory is, okay? So we can actually quantify what this thing actually does, okay? At, at the end of the day, you're talking about a database. Active Directory is basically a database, and it's a distributed database. It is distributed, meaning it is shared and synchronized between domain controllers, special computers like we're going to set up now that keep the Active Directory database on it. And when a change is made, periodically, they update the other servers in the domain in the forest, okay? So what are we talking about here? It keeps user accounts. It keeps computer accounts. When you join a computer into Active Directory, there is an object that's created in the Active Directory schema called a computer object that has data regarding that particular computer. It also uses something called groups, and there's several different kinds of groups, but let's concentrate just on one type of group, and that's the security group. Security groups give access to resources, right? So if you're a member of the accounting shared folder group, right, and you give the accounting shared folder group access to the accounting folder, you're a member of that group, you've got access to that folder. That's called implied permissions, right? There are specific permissions. Now, if you took the user and put them on that access control list for that folder, that is explicit permissions for that user. We almost never do that. Usually, it's what we call implicit, implied permissions. So you get access to this folder because you're a member of that group, okay? So there are different kinds of groups. There's also distribution groups. When we used to host email on an Exchange server inside our Active Directory environment, that was integrated into Active Directory. It still is. You can create a distribution group, let's say called the IT department, and we would all have our email addresses added to that group. So distribution group, security group, 2 different types of groups for 2 different things. And when we go to create groups, we'll get into that a little bit more, okay? There are also servers, okay? Now, Windows servers, if they're not a domain controller, are treated just like every other laptop and desktop in your environment. They end up in the computer's organizational unit, in the computer's OU, in the Active Directory schema. But domain controllers is actually a separate organizational unit for domain controllers, and it's called domain controllers. And there's a reason for that. And that's the next thing that we're going to talk about, group policies. Group policies, if you go onto the server, this server is right now, this Scott server is, Scott, if you can click on local server on the left-hand side, this is the member of a work group called work group, okay? It is not member of Active Directory yet, okay? But Scott, if you go to the Windows button and type window R, or just open the run box, type in gpedit.msc. Every Windows computer has a local group policy. Windows Active Directory allows you to deploy this model to multiple computers, multiple users through the OU, the organizational unit that they reside in, okay? So while this group policy is the local group policy, which is always there, right? And if you have let's say you join this Active Directory and you have two group policies that conflict with each other, the Active Directory group policy beats the local group policy. It overrides it if they can contradict each other. Okay, you follow, guys?
Yes.
Okay. And another thing that you also put into Active Directory is printers. When you're setting up an a shared printer on an Active Directory domain controller, it asks you on the way out, hey, do you want to list this in the directory? And yes, you can. And now that becomes a printer object in Active Directory too, something that users can use to resource things. Now, here's something that we almost never talk about. Scott, if you could do that run box again. Oh, we can't do that yet because we're not joined into Active Directory, but we will later. There's when we add Active Directory to the server, there's also a thing called ADSI edit. You might want to write that down. ADSI edit is an executable which allows you to connect directly to your Active Directory using LDAP or LDAP-S. You have a choice. An ADSI edit is a way for you to actually browse the Active Directory schema from a different interface. You're looking at it like kind of raw, okay? And there are some times where you need to edit that data in Active Directory, and there's really no other tool that allows that access except for ADSI edit. There's been times where, you know, we had to change the characteristics of a particular Active Directory object, and you do it in ADSI edit, okay? So if you look at the components of Active Directory, let's take a look at this from a different standpoint, okay? The idea of a forest, okay, compared to a tree, compared to a domain, compared to an OU, compared to a computer object or user object, okay? Let's talk about all the way at the top. We have a thing called a tree. I mean, a forest, right? Forest can contain many trees, okay? And what is a tree basically? It's domains, right? So inside of our Active Directory environment, we have the parent forest, and underneath that, we've got subordinate domains that are set up, okay? And that infrastructure allows this to be infinitely scalable, really scalable, okay? So when we talk about these group policies that Scott has opened the local group policy, this is on every single Windows computer, desktop, laptop, every single machine. But Active Directory gives us the ability to create multiple group policies that each one of them does a specific thing. So we've got infinitely granular control over every aspect of the user experience that we want to get involved with, okay? Like in a hospital, let's say, you want to make sure one of the HIPAA compliance points is that every computer needs to, you have to hit Control-Alt-Delete to log in. Why? Because it takes two hands. And yes, you can do it with one hand if you're dexterous, okay? But the idea is that it's very difficult unless you're in a system that is specifically built to do that, to send a Control-Alt-Delete through the network to a remote system is difficult if you don't have the right tool to do it. So hitting Control-Alt-Delete adds a little bit of security to that host. So you push that rule to everybody through group policies, and you call it Control-Alt-Delete for all hosts, and you create that group policy, and it's like individual local group policies in a tree of group policies that all do different things. The two group policies that are created when you install Active Directory is the default domain policy, which you should never fuck with because things can get lost in there. Okay, the group policies is very deep. Okay, a lot of different things you can set. Right. So in the default domain policy, there should only be things like, let's say, your password strategy. How strong your passwords need to be. That's across the entire domain. Fine, put it in the default domain policy. Then, like I said, the domain controllers are in their own OU, and that OU also has your default domain controllers policy, right? And that is automatically tied to that OU. So all of the domain controllers get your default domain controller policy. And your company may decide on certain policies that would be granted, or restricted on domain controllers across the board, or such. Okay. Now, I just think it's really good time right now to talk about one thing: the difference between rights and permissions. Okay. You hear these words, but do you know what they mean and what they pertain to? Groups, permissions per se, strictly speaking, is access to shared and local file folders and files. Permissions, when we talk about permissions, we're talking about opening up a folder, right-clicking, going to properties, and looking at the properties of a folder or a file, and there's a security tab, and in there you see the ACL, the access control list. That is where permissions are granted or denied, okay? Rights, on the other hand, are strictly speaking doled out or restricted by group policies. And on an Active Directory network, you're in the business of rights and permissions. Rights granted through group policies, permissions granted through access control lists. Scott, really quick, let's just open up the file folder down at the bottom of that server. Okay, drill into the C drive and open a folder. Right-click on the user folder, let's say, and go to properties. Okay, you go to the security tab, boom. This list right here, and you can go to advanced so it opens up a little bit bigger and you can do a little bit more with it. Your permissions are granted or restricted right here. Okay, now you see that these are the default permissions for the users folder. You could tweak these, but they don't need to be tweaked. Okay, my point is simply this: these are where you deal with permissions. And if we were sharing this folder, let's say it was a shared folder on another drive on that computer, right? And we wanted to give, let's say, everybody in a certain group, you create a group in the Active Directory, you can add that group to this list here and say accounting department, right? And let's say you named your group the accounting department. Everybody in the accounting department is has access to that particular resource in the file system. Rights, on the other hand, are different than access to files and folders. Rights are the right to print the right to pick your screen background, the right to to run a batch file, the right to log in during certain hours. You can actually restrict when people can log in. So you know what? John Smith, he comes in at 8 o'clock and he leaves at 4 o'clock, and that's when he can log into the system. And he's not allowed to log into the system at any other time. That you can actually set through group policies and apply them to everyone in a particular organizational unit. You don't apply group policies to users, you apply them to OUs. So let's do a little housekeeping here. Scott, if you can close these windows and go back to the server manager. Okay, a couple of things that we do to every single server. Okay, first things first, let's set the time zone. On the right side, you see automatically Microsoft is in California, right? So they set their servers to Pacific time zone. You have to manually change this to Eastern. You don't have to move the thing. It's on the main screen. Eastern time, US and Canada. Ta-da. Okay. And that's, you see that's UTC -5, Universal Time Coordinated. We're -5 hours here in New York from the prime meridian, which is in Greenwich, England. Okay. Now, you're going to see this probably not going to change, right? Not until you refresh the screen up on the top. So like to the left of the flag on the top of that screen, there's a little spinny thing. Hit that, and in 2 seconds, you see it refreshes the screen. Okay. So now another thing we should set on our server is remote desktop, because we want to have access to remote desktop. You did that already, Scott, because that's how we're connected to it. Fantastic. That's another thing that you do on every single server. Okay. Now let's install the Active Directory components. 2 things we need to install at a bare minimum for your first domain controller is the Active Directory domain services, and the server must become a DNS server, because DNS is how Active Directory works. It is how everything in LDAP is found. Okay, it's all done through DNS. So we're going to go to manage, add roles and features, and it's going to bring you to the welcome. You could click on the thing and say, skip this page by default, but I never do because I kind of like it. You've got 2 types of things you can install from here: role or feature-based installations and remote desktop services. Remote RDP services is in like, it's a class of thing all by itself. That's why it's different. They didn't include that in role or feature-based installations because making this a remote desktop server to serve up desktops for virtual desktops, making it essentially a virtualization platform, is a whole different animal, and it needs to be licensed correctly. So we're not going to get into that, but you see, just want to make these distinctions here. And you see in the top right of that screen, the destination server is server 1, Scotso server 1, which is the name of the server that the server is. Okay, so we hit next, and we get to which server. In Server Manager, you can bundle servers together, and so if you're in charge of managing a pool of servers, you can add them to this pool of servers. But by default, the only server you'll see is that one alone, and you just hit next. Okay, now we've got roles. Okay, these are roles. The next screen, really quick, just jump to the next screen, is features. Okay, so 2 different concepts there, kind of like permissions and rights. Roles are what are like the role a server will play, and a feature would be like a feature of the server. It's weird the way they broke it up, but as you get to know these things, you'll understand. Like a BitLocker is a feature of the server. It's not a role, okay? Even though, network unlock is definitely, in my opinion, a role, but that's Microsoft has their own way of looking at things. So hit the previous button for me. And you're going to choose at the top Active Directory Domain Services, the second one down. And automatically it pops up this window saying, hey, do you want the tools also installed to manage this stuff? And we're, of course, going to hit yes to add those features. But I want you to also realize that you can say no, that you want this thing to be a domain controller, but we don't want to manage it from here. You can manage this stuff centrally on one server or two servers. You don't have to install these things on every single server. So, but we're going to add the features, okay, the tools. And the other thing that we're going to grab is the DNS server, okay, and that also has a management console that we're going to install. Okay, so we hit next, and next. We're not gonna choose. We don't need anything on the server features. And now it's going to give you like some information. Hey, you really should be doing this in the cloud. This is the Active Directory cloud blurb where they try to get you to learn more about Active Directory in the cloud. The cool thing about this is you can integrate it after it's built with the cloud. Okay, so hit next. And the DNS server is also going to be a thing that it's going to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is going to become a DNS server. This is what things to note. Integration with Active Directory is part of the whole deal. And Active Directory domain service requires DNS server to be installed on the network if you're installing a domain controller. Okay, so hit next. Okay, now up on the top, you want to click that restart if needed, and it's going to say, hey, are you sure? And of course, we're going to say yes. And then it's going to run through, you hit install, but it's going to do a pre-flight check. Oh, actually, it's going to install. It'll do the pre-flight check when we do the promotion to a domain controller. So this is going to go through and it's going to install the different features that it needs. And I want you to keep your eye up on the flag up on the top of the screen. See that little one next to it that just popped up? When you click on that, if you can click on it, I don't think you can with that open. Okay, so it's saying that roles and features is started the installation. In a few seconds, you're going to see that come up with another bit of information that's saying, hey, do you want to promote this to a domain controller, which is a separate thing to do. So as soon as this part gets done, we can go in and then promote it to be our first domain controller in the domain.
Yeah, this machine's a little faster than the other one. This is the i5 with the 14 cores on it.
Oh, it's perfect for our needs, dude. Seriously. And I
told you it's no big.
I gotta thank you again. Seriously. This is very generous of you to allow a bunch of people to be invited to see this stuff, and I hope that that whole idea is working for you, because I think everybody's getting a lot out of this, and I really hope to see more people join this thing, because it's kind of fun to do.
I'm in. I love it. And the thing is, it's like,
dude. Yeah, like it's a lot of work to set up a test machine, but it's good.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm doing other things too.
Yep.
I mean, I have a Plex server and I have another server. And right now I'm trying to build an open media vault server, because what I want to do is all the stuff that Rick is teaching everybody, including the videos. Eventually, I'm trying to host that at home, self-host it using Nextcloud, and then everybody, if they want the information, they can just go and get it. They'll get an account, they download it, and then they're done.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's really fucking cool.
Yeah, and then what we're going to do is, when the winter comes, because nobody goes out in the winter anymore, I have a 27 terabyte Synology NAS here. I'm going to be redoing that. And then that's also going to become a backup server for all this stuff. So all this stuff will be backed up too. So the machines, the Nextcloud, everything. Because the Nextcloud's only going to be a terabyte of data. It's only a terabyte drive. It's not a big drive. And it's
So
running
this,
on a Zima board.
so this thing only,
For your
this thing
next,
right
you
now
want a
only
lead?
has four
I got a lead.
gigs of memory, right?
What's that, sir?
This thing only has 4 gigs of memory, right?
This machine has 4 gigs of memory and has a 30 gig drive on it. I hope that was enough.
No, we certainly have more space that we can make the drive bigger, right?
I hope so. I hope I configured it that way. I mean, we can always look in the Proxmox and check it.
Okay.
Worst
Okay.
comes to worst, if I've got to destroy, I'll destroy and redeploy and do it that way. But
Yeah,
I don't
that's
see.
also part of the planning, right? Okay, so this thing finished,
Yeah.
right? So you see on the left-hand side, configuration required, right? So we close the over on the left-hand, the window on the left, we close that, and you see the drop-down menu up on the top there. That is saying, okay, promote this server to a domain controller. This program, when you click that, that runs an older executable that you can't run directly anymore called DC Promo. And we, back in the day, with Windows NT, early versions of Windows 2000-ish, we ran DC Promo at this point. We didn't have the server manager like this. So click on that, and that runs the DC Promo program, right? Which looks like this. What are we doing here? And notice that the default for what the deployment operation is, add a domain controller to an existing domain, because that is going to be like, as far as popular goes, that's going to be something you're going to do way more than building a new forest. Okay. Now you can also create a new domain in an existing forest, which we'll probably do down the road. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a new forest. Okay. And we're going to pick our new domain name. Let's keep it simple this time. Let's call it, what do you want to call it, Scott? Scotso.local?
Whatever you guys want.
Yeah, it's a service named Scotso, and Scott. It's for you guys that don't know. Scott's like made up his like this nickname that he used to do still does a lot of artwork for bands and stuff, and that's his artist kind of pen name.
I actually stole it from Scott Muni, because when I worked in radio, they used to call me that too, because they used to call him Big Scotso and me Little Scotso. Yeah,
Oh, you're an artist, man?
No, you got it. All the flyers that we did with Rock of Ages with my band. Scott made up all the flyers, and he used to do such a fantastic job with them. The one of these,
had fun.
Maybe at the next meeting you can show them a couple of those.
I have those. Yes, I do.
Right, I know you have them all.
Yeah, I have more. They're actually in the Synology in a backup.
I would have to go to my Facebook page to find them.
Yeah, we got a lot in common. I do art, and then like the picture, like I just picked that with the Windows thing recently, but like, yeah, this was when I was working as a market guy, so I did a lot of the art, and then I did art for this like Harley, and that's how I started working as a network admin for this car corporation.
Just so
Cool.
you guys know, Brian is definitely a doppelganger for Heath Ledger. If Heath was still alive and these two guys were standing next to each other, you'd wonder, like, Brian looks like a younger Heath Ledger.
Oh, that's funny.
I made it to 35 though, so I think that's long, right?
Hey, no, it's a compliment, bro. It's a compliment. Yeah, I loved Heath Ledger. He was a great actor. Fucking one of my favorite movies will always be The Knight's Tale.
I did do like with my ex-girlfriend. I did for Halloween like a Joker. I made myself Joker, and then I wore a Coca-Cola shirt, and I just put a J over the C, so it said Joca-Cola, because I didn't have the actual shit. It was pretty good, yeah.
All right, so let's call it Scotso.local.
Okay. Keep it simple.
And definitely, I like the idea of keeping, when we're doing this naming convention, always using lowercase. Okay, and the reason is very simple. When we get to the next screen, or actually down the road a little bit, through this, it's going to ask you a NetBIOS name for the domain, right? And that's going to be in caps by default, right? So everything DNS should be in lowercase. Everything in NetBIOS is always uppercase. So go ahead, hit the next button. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we are going to have a forest and domain function level of server 2005. We could drop that down. We could function level at a lower version. And I think it just goes back to 2016, right? That makes sense. The reason why you might want to do that is maybe you have some domain controllers that you're going to later on promote that aren't as new as the 2025 version, but we're going to keep that as it is. Okay. And we're going to specify that this domain controller's capabilities is going to be as a DNS server and a global catalog server, meaning it is going to keep a full copy of the domain in its database. You can create partitions in your Active Directory domain, and down the road a piece, let's say if we were doing a subdomain, we can tell that server, hey, just keep the part of the domain that you need. You don't need the whole database in it. This helps with performance and things like that. Okay, and then the last object that of course is not checked is an RODC, a read-only domain controller. When would you probably need a read-only domain controller? Think about the idea of a branch office. You're working for a big company. You've got a branch office out in Chicago. There's an IT kid working at that branch office, but you don't want him being able to make any changes to your Active Directory environment. You deploy a read-only domain controller at that site. That domain controller will operate as a domain controller does, but from that machine, he can't go in and change a user's password. He can't make changes to group policies. He can't make changes to anything in the Active Directory domain. He can read all the data. His office can operate just fine, but any changes to the domain has to be done from a server that's not an RODC server. Make sense?
Yes.
Does anybody not get that?
Oh no, I got it. Yeah.
It's like a domain controller, but it's locked down. You can open up Active Directory users and computers, but you can't make any changes to it. It'll tell you you can't because you're on an RODC. You can go and look, but you can't change. Sky, you want to do your password and confirm it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a DSRM password. This is Active Directory restore mode in case we need to, something goes horribly wrong with our Active Directory environment. We have to use the Active Directory restore mode, which it keeps a backup of Active Directory. Basically, like when you have, let's say, a laptop that gets all fungooled and it says Windows can't boot and it takes you to the recovery screen. On a domain controller, you get another thing called DSRM, which is Active Directory recovery, which you can need a password to get to. So it's a good idea to remember this password when you put it in. Okay, next. Okay, now, the weird thing is you're always going to see this error message. A delegation for this DNS server cannot be created because an authoritative zone cannot be found. Chicken and the egg kind of thing here, okay? The reason why it can't be found is because it hasn't been created yet, okay? If you were creating the second server, third server, it'll still give you this issue because if you're promoting you'll see it when we do the second server. The second server will say the same thing because the server isn't in DNS yet. We don't even have a DNS server yet. So this thing is saying that, hey, I can't find a place to put this in DNS, but it will when it's done. Okay. And you can hit next on that. Okay. NetBIOS domain name. It's going to put in Scotso by itself as soon as you see that. So everything before the .local, that's going to be your domain name by default. Okay, and notice how it's NetBIOS is always in uppercase. old Windows standard for NetBIOS resolution, always in uppercase is the norm. It doesn't understand lowercase. It's one of the few things in old DOS that is actually case sensitive. In the old days of DOS and early Windows, you couldn't have a file name with the same file in upper and lower case where you can in Linux. In Linux, everything is case sensitive, so you could have a file called my file in lowercase. You can have another file in the same directory called my file and have it in uppercase, but you can't have two files with exactly the same case, right? So in Windows NetBIOS, uppercase is the norm. So we hit next. Okay, the paths to where the database is going to be stored. This does not need to be changed unless your company has specific reason why that would have to be changed. The defaults are fine. Okay, and hit next. Now it's just going to sit there and say, review the options. This is all the shit we're going to do. You can actually click on view script and poof, there's a PowerShell script to do exactly what we're doing right now. So you can hit save as, put it on the desktop, save it and look at it later. So like, what if, now here's the idea, like let's say you're going to install a server that is a server core installation where you don't have a graphical user interface. Guess what? You do it in PowerShell, and that script is what you would use. Okay, so you hit next. Now it's going to do the pre-flight check. Verifying everything. It's going to cry about the cryptography a little bit. It's going to cry about the domain controller. Hey, look, they fixed the cryptography thing in 2025. Neat. Every single version of Windows Server said something about the cryptography because the cryptology wasn't created before the domain controller. Okay, so it's like another chicken and the egg thing. So you do the install, and there you go. It's actually installing, and it's creating the Active Directory database now. And in a couple of seconds, we'll be done, and it's going to want to do a reboot. And then for the first time, we can log in as the administrator user of the domain because that's going to be your first user. You should, as a matter of business, change the administrator user's name to something else, and of course, have a complicated password for it. Okay, and it's going to do a reboot, and when it comes back, ta-da, we have our first domain controller. You look, Scott made RDP shortcuts to the, we've got two servers and what is it, one workstation, Windows 11 machine or Windows 10 machine?
11.
Excellent.
I didn't,
And
you know,
got past
what?
You got past the TPM problem?
Yeah, took it no problem.
That's awesome. Okay.
What the hell? Oh, okay. All right.
So you want to do more choices, right? And we're going to use a different account down at the bottom. Okay. And you're going to type in Scotso. Did we set the administrator password? I guess we did. You try Scotso / administrator.
I did it initially. Oh, wait a minute. Can't type.
And you password.
No, I know what I meant.
I was going to say, make that easy to remember, bro.
No, it's not that one. Okay, hold on a minute. It's this one. That's right.
Okay, now because we're logging in as a different user, it's got to create another user profile, and it did that pretty quickly. Okay.
Okay.
Now close that window, like the little nag window, right? And then go to local server and notice how the upper left changes a little bit. Now the domain goes from workgroup to scotso.local. We are now logged into the domain. Okay. First things first, what do you do when you get into a new place? You create a backdoor. Okay. So let's go to tools up in the top right and Active Directory users and computers. Okay. And let's set up some housekeeping in our domain, right? So create a new OU at that level. And we're going to call that organizational unit Scotso Corp. Okay, and hit OK. Okay, and then underneath Scotso Corp, we're going to make a couple of subfolders, sub OUs. The first one's going to be called users. Second one's going to be called computers. Third one's going to be called security groups. Okay, and then one I always like to keep disabled users, because you never really get rid of a user account, but you disable them and you put them in the disabled users OU, right? Okay, so in the users OU, let's jump over to there and create a new user. And we're going to, this is going to be our backdoor domain administrator, right? And so, Scott, make it for yourself. User Scott. Okay, and don't make your username have two. Well, okay, Scott-admin is fine. Yeah. Okay, and next. And give yourself a password you will remember. And bubblegum123, huh? Okay, uncheck user.
Something like that.
Okay, user must change passwords. You're going to uncheck that. Okay, and you can leave the rest of the boxes unchecked. Or you could make it, you could say password never expires. That's fine. I never really do that, but it's okay if you check it, password never expires. Hit next and finish. Now, depending on how you want to do this stuff, you could create a password complexity rule, and you would do that with group policy, and you probably put that in your default domain policy. I usually put the password complexity rule in there, okay? But we're just going to leave it for now. This is a basic setup, right? So now we're going to give Scott privileges. Double click on your user, okay? And then go to member of. And you're going to add, and you're going to type in domain admins. You do a check name. And okay, and apply. Now Scott is a member of the domain admins. Now here's another thing I like to do in ADUC, just as a matter of course for me, because I like to be able to see the extra features and the extra tabs. Go to View up on the top there and choose Advanced Features, because we're advanced people. And also, you notice you see a few things you didn't see before. You see some OUs that you didn't see before. These are basically hidden OUs that, under certain conditions, you might need to mess with, okay? So now if we go back to Scotso Corp and go to users and double click on Scott's name, you'll see a new tab on the top on the right side called Attribute Editor. This is kind of handy because this is all the different attributes that Active Directory holds for every single user object, including, don't scroll past it, it's about right there. See distinguished name, double click on distinguished name. I want everybody to do a copy on that and put it into Notepad with a bigger font so everybody can see that. I want everybody to take notice of this. Distinguished names are basically the, you could do format font. And just let's make it like 18 or 20. Yeah, just a little bit bigger. Yeah, excellent. So every object in AD has what's called a distinguished name. If you notice, look what it looks like. Kind of looks like DNS, doesn't it? With your dc.local, DC Scotso, OU Scotso Corp, OU users, CN Scottarina, right? You see the way that's laid out from the right to the left, if you're reading like Korean backwards, right? You start off with the top level domain name, then the domain name, then the OU, maybe other sub OUs, and then the CN, which is the common name. That's what it's actually called. Okay. And it's very important for you to understand this nomenclature, this the way this is written, okay? Because this is something that you'll see every single object in your Active Directory has got a distinguished name. That's how the system finds that particular object. Let's take a look at the administrator account, right? So you could close that window there and then close that. Now go back to the users OU down at the bottom. Oh, the one built in all the way down to the bottom. There you go. And then let's double click on the administrator user. And then attribute editor. And then distinguished name. And copy that. And let's put that on this, let's go to the end, hit enter twice, and then paste it in. Right? So you see, this is how Active Directory finds the user object administrator in the system. So that you see the DC locals, DC stands for domain control, CN stands for common name, right? And now you notice something between these two things, that the users OU on the top is an OU, and the CN users, that's how the system knows that's the built-in users OU, okay? Because it doesn't refer to it as an OU. You don't, when you open up the Group Policy Management Console, you don't see the users OU, but you will see the Scotso Corp OU. Okay, and you will see the users OU and the security groups and the disabled users and all the different OUs that were created, because those are the OUs that we're going to use to point to fire off our group policies at. Okay, so when you're addressing, and especially when you're let's say using PowerShell to create users, you might create a CSV file, a comma delimited text file, basically in Excel. And one of the columns that you're going to create is the distinguished name column when you're automatically creating large number of users. You're not going to, here's the thing, and we'll definitely get into this, you know, like the next time we get together, I'll show you PowerShell scripts that can create 150 users in less than 3 seconds. Okay. And the reason why you do that is because, let's say, you know, you're creating the domain and your company's got like 200, 250 users, and you decided that in each OU is going to be different users, right? And HR gives you the information like this user's part of the accounting department. This uses part of the advertising department. This uses part of the executive department, right? And you create these different OUs for the different groups of people based on basically what department they're in and what they do, right? So you can shoot group policies at them based on that. So you say one group policy, you can send one group policy to the accounting department. That in that group policy, you can say accounting printers, because the accounting department has 2 printers in the accounting department that nobody else uses but people in the accounting department, and they are going to get the installation of that print of those 2 printers, and people in advertising aren't going to get those printers. They're going to get the printers that are over in advertising. That's how group policy helps you manage the users and what they have access to, what they have rights to. Any questions or comments or criticisms or anything? Compliments?
Makes sense to me, and good job.
Thanks. Anybody else? I always get like kind of suspect when Brian doesn't say anything.
Well, no, yeah, I'm just thinking about it. It's got me thinking about the salesmen. They're animals, you know. They'll like if you give them access to the accounting printer, like random crap starts. I remember like a food menu kept just popping.
They're
But that was
animals.
random. Like the woman was getting like faxes from a random food place at one point. It was really strange. Like so, I
Oh
was going
shit,
through
man.
flashbacks for a second there. Yeah, because they really they just click anything. They click anything. And like if everyone was an admin, like maybe there wouldn't be a need for us, you know. But they're animals.
Well, see,
Got it.
that's where Huntress comes in. And if you're not
God bless
familiar
the
with
sheep.
Huntress, you should be. Huntress has I was showing Christian Huntress today. The the Huntress is a system that guards over one of 2 things. It guards over your workstations and servers with a product line that they call EDR, Endpoint Detection and Response. You install the agent on all your servers and all your workstations, and Huntress is like antivirus on steroids. It's a complete game changer as far as like managing threats. The other part of Huntress is called ITDR, and that's I forget what it stands for, but that's basically you set that up in your Microsoft cloud tenant for your 365 tenant. So that keeps track of user logins, suspicious logins using VPNs. You can make rules, very easily make rules for country access, which geographical access you can do very easily in 365. But like what Huntress goes one step further, and let's say someone in India is got like like let's say a Skate VPN or something like that, and they pick an IP address that they want to look like they're coming from, and that IP address is in Chicago, right? 365 doesn't see the VPN; it sees the IP address coming from Chicago, thus getting past the security that Microsoft offers out of the box. Okay, Huntress picks up on the fact that it's a VPN, calls out exactly what brand of VPN it is, and immediately, if you don't have a rule set, and this comes out of the blue, immediately that account is disabled. So even if the person had their password and had a way to get past MFA, they don't get in until you unlock the account. And typically what you do is you would unlock the account, you would make them reapply for MFA, for multi-factor authentication, and then you'd re-enable their account and watch them log in, basically white glove them through that process. and set a rule that if you ever see this VPN again, there's a rule across the entire tenant that says that's not allowed. And boom, it'll never be allowed again. You'll get a report next time the guy tries it. It is a brutally effective system where it automatically, heuristically detects suspicious uh, activities. As a matter of fact, one of my clients, a small law firm, was absolutely saved by Huntress. When we first rolled out Huntress, I had this client who I'm kind of close with. I've never met the guy face to face, but let's just call him Howard. Tom knows who he is, and I think Christian might know too. The nice guy. He's like semi-retired, and I've had like many good long conversations with him about his system and baseball and motorcycles and rock and roll and every other fucking subject you can imagine. Super nice guy. When we got Huntress and we started deploying it, I called Howard up and I said, "You're buying this, and I don't care what you say, you're buying this." Basically, I put it to him like that. And what he said, "Rick's telling me I got to buy something, I'm buying it." And he says, "Well, how much is it?" And I says, "A couple of dollars per workstation and a couple of dollars per licensed account in your 365 tenant." For them, it was a no-brainer. They're like 11 people. Like, Tom, what would you say? It's like at the most they're like 10, 11 people.
Yeah, it's like 10 people. Yep.
So it's like nothing, right? But we put both the EDR and ITDR on their system, and somebody got in through their VPN with an account. Somebody got the password. We hadn't yet put multi-factor authentication on the VPN. Somebody got in from, I think it was Romania. We tracked the IP address back to, and they started fucking around, like, running scripts, doing all that stuff that hackers do. The second they started playing games, the system locked all their systems down, sandboxed them off the network, like clipping their network cables. Nobody could get to them. The users couldn't do anything. Basically, it locked the system down. We figured out it was a VPN breach. We closed the account. There were a couple of accounts that we weren't aware of that we got rid of. We just deleted the accounts. We put very complicated passwords on their VPN access, put multi-factor authentication on the VPN access. But before any damage was really done, it was we had them back up and running in a couple of hours, like literally dodging a bullet the way Trump dodged that freaking shot that hit him in the ear. It was like God, it's like the way God saved Donald Trump that day in Butler, Pennsylvania. Huntress saved their network. And all of their client information on all of their shared folders, and God knows what else they could have gotten. But it detected heuristically, this doesn't look right. This is activity that looks like a hacker. Boom. Didn't ask us, didn't just sent me a text message, sent an email into our system, said this place is closed until we figure out what's going on over here. No other system does that. And if you're not using Huntress, you really have to rethink your life, because there's nothing else that does that.
Yeah, I didn't know about Huntress. We used the Datto EDR.
Well, the Datto is a great way to recover from something like that, okay? But what you're not going to be able to do is you're not going to be able to stop it before it happens.
Yeah. I feel like we just like, he was just getting the best, or not the best, or whatever came with the package, because we moved from ESET to Datto, and yeah, the VSA package.
Well, see, now that's a disaster recovery backup and disaster recovery system, right? Huntress is a proactive, reactive system that manages your workstations and your 365 cloud and acts on your behalf before any human being could possibly pick up on something going wrong. And I'll show it to you.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Because we definitely didn't have anything to stop us. We just had something to send emails, you know?
This is Huntress. Okay. This is what your dashboard in Huntress looks like. And you see something right down at the bottom there. Weinberg, Gross, and Pergament. That is the little lawyer attorney practice that had an org-wide incident and isolation, right? And I left it there today when I was showing Christian this portal because I wanted to show it to you guys tonight. Now I'm going to download it. Okay. And then I'm going to view it. And let's view what happened. Okay. This is what happened. What happened? A critical security incident has been detected at one Gross and Pergament organization. Huntress has responded by isolating endpoints from the network to limit the attack spread. An incident report should be in your dashboard or will be delivered soon. Huntress Security Operations Center is actively investigating to provide you as much information as possible regarding to the attack. Here's your steps to resolve. Start your incident response plan. If you don't have one, make one. Okay? Read through all of the incident reports sent by Huntress. Consider contacting the incident response firm. Okay? Now, what does that mean? You might have a company like my company that is set up to respond to things like this. That would be me. Okay? Now, if we have a consultant that we would work with, let's say, to actively deal with these kind of threats, I might turn around to my third party and contact them about this, okay? Reach out to Huntress support. They are available by phone and by chat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. After you've addressed the incident, you can look at, you can release the endpoints from isolation, or you can mark this escalation as resolved, right? Right there, the button right there, resolve, which I'm going to hit in a little while. But these are the machines, physical machines that were isolated, okay? And the operating system, this is their server, okay? And all Windows 11 and 10 Pro workstations. Here is a virtual machine, their domain controller, right? They have a domain controller and they've got a file server serving files and printers, right? And these are all the workstations that they have. All of these computers were completely isolated. So like this, the hacker's working on it and all of a sudden his keyboard doesn't work. Over and out, you're done. And when I click resolve here, it says, are you sure? And I'm going to click resolve because it's been resolved. That is Huntress ITDR working its magic. Okay, so when you go to Weinberg, Gross, and Pergament, and you go to the the EDR dashboard, right? You'll see that we've got a couple of low security incidents, right? And when we say low, these are things like people have some passwords like in there, like in a notepad file or a Word file. Huntress picks up on that and sends you an email saying, hey, Alicia and Julie or whatever her name is, Sullivan, has got some passwords on their computer that they put into a text document. Very bad idea, and we're calling it out. The way the system works is it looks at everything. It looks at programs. Like when you go to look at the programs that you have installed on your workstation, do you know there's a bunch of programs you don't even know about that are installed in the background? Like support programs. Like you install Adobe Acrobat, Groovy, right? There's like 3 or 4 programs that Adobe Acrobat installs in the background to do stuff, like to update itself and shit like that, right?
You can never really remove Adobe once you install their suite.
Oh well, you can by
I think what
basically.
they say with Creative Studio though, I don't even know. Like it's so in depth with the reg. You have to go to the reg files.
Yeah,
Look at
well,
Photoshop.
Revo Uninstaller really does a great job at cleaning stuff like
It
that
does.
up. You know,
I was just going to
that's
say that.
that
Yeah,
was,
it
believe it or
does.
not, I didn't know about Revo before I was teaching, and it was one of my students that showed it to me. And other students said, "Yeah, I know all about that." I was like, "Wow, this something I learned from my students was Revo. I didn't know about it before one of my students brought it up."
Yeah, I
Uh,
showed my old boss it. Like there was a whole like we were gonna have to like reset a whole machine to get a mechanics, because we worked with like the mechanics used MDMIs to fix like cars,
mhm.
and like his machine was hooked up to that computer, and like it was imperative that this computer gets fixed quick because the car, and like his like labor hours and stuff. But yeah, we
Now,
just did that.
now let's take a quick look. We've looked at the workstation side of this thing, right? So if we go to, like, we're in Weinberg, we go to identities, right? Sorry, agents, right? These are the agents. These are the actual workstations and servers at Weinberg. Let's take a look at Harvey's machine. He's got a virtual machine living on Hyper-V, Windows 11 Pro that he remotes into because he's like semi-retired, right? And Harvey is, I've got this one, V3. I think this is the latest one. Harvey V2 is the older one. So I'm just going to take one of the other ones. Let's say the Howard's machine, right? Go into that, and I could see a lot about this machine. I want to isolate this host. One click, isolated, done. Firewall status. Is it active? Is it running? Is it not running? If let's say we disabled the firewall, it would show you right here. Now, here's something really cool. This is also antivirus, right? So it works where you can do a manual update. Say I want to update the signatures right here, done, right? And I want to do a manual scan. I've got a choice for doing a quick scan or a full scan, right? So I'm going to do a quick scan, and it's going to send me a report when it's done. I'm going to say, listen, we did a quick scan, and here's what we found. It really does check out a lot of different things. It collects files to keep an eye on, monitors different stuff, because these are files that recently he has opened. So see, every type here is what they call a canary, right? So you see this, these file folders was probably a remnant of, I've got to look at this because I think this is a remnant of the attack, something that I missed, but I'll look at it tomorrow. It's not something that's going to hurt us, but this is definitely suspicious. This folder names and file names, just a little bit suspicious. Okay, and we'll take a look at that. So it checks everything out, right? And so you can sit here and say, okay, listen, I want to I want to delete these files. You can say collected files. You could do a copy. Now you could go and find this file that you're looking for. It's win event, integrity operational, right? So it's watching all the event logs. When Windows kicks something into the event log that even looks slightly suspicious, this system jumps into action. It integrates with Windows Defender, and see nothing, no signals investigated, no events, everything looks clean. Stuff that auto runs. Nothing is auto running that's malicious or suspicious. Might have a few things here that are monitored, scheduled tasks, things like that. And the system keeps track of when these things run and what they do when they run. Okay. And anything that's suspicious. If this is Windows Defender is considered reputable, you see it here. Trusted. These are stuff that is trusted on the machine, like disk cleanup and component cleanup and things like that. And manually approved would be here, like for like some kind of third-party thing that they would be here. Now, last thing before we go, we take a look at the ITDR part of this thing, right? ITDR is the cloud protection, right? So you see that David Miller did unwanted access through rule violation. He used ExpressVPN, right? And so we can go and review that. Let's see, go to, well, because I closed it, it's not open anymore. But I said, nope. I called up David, said, did you use a VPN? He goes, yeah, I had the VPN on that I use on my Netflix account. I know it was probably pornography. It's okay. I don't care. I don't judge anybody. You do whatever you want in the privacy of your own home. Just don't do it on my fucking company computers. But so he's using ExpressVPN, and then from ExpressVPN, he tried to access his email, and the system shut him right out. Right. So I had to speak to him and tell him that, no more ExpressVPN. Don't use it anymore.
Smart enough to get in trouble, we used to say.
Well, here's where the integration is set up. You've got regular email here and Microsoft 365, right? So we do edit integration. You see these are all my clients that are on it and the condition of their cloud, all healthy, right? Now, when you set up a tenant in here, you basically just do new integration and you log in as that particular global admin for that user, and you connect in, and it immediately jumps in and says, hey, is it okay if this account accesses all the shit? It's like a page and a half of stuff. And it's like you hit yes. And now let's say somebody's let's say email password out, and a hacker gets in and makes an email rule to hide certain emails from them, right? Mark it red, put it in this folder, right? Huntress sees that, locks the account. Any funny business, like two or more attempts trying to get in without using multi-factor authentication, if they've got MFA enabled, it calls out if they don't have MFA enabled. It says, it'll tell you that this user doesn't have MFA enabled, right? So it is one of the best systems for guarding against the bad shit, against the hackers that I've ever seen. And basically you say how it works. Basically it connects in to the provider. You authorize what it can do. It syncs up, and after about depending on how many users and how big their cloud footprint is, in about an hour to 3 hours, somewhere in that window, you'll get an email with a whole report about the entire condition of their tenant. Here's some stuff we found we really don't like, but we didn't disable it because some people use it. There's cloud applications that like people in advertising use that kind of looks like, phishing attempting things, so you have to really go through it. You can see it. You can set this up for Google. You can set it up for Microsoft, and you could also set this up, like, let's say someone isn't on either one of those two platforms. Let's say they're on Intermedia or even hosted on GoDaddy. They're all supported here. You can connect to all of them. As long as you have an admin user in that cloud environment, you can basically tell Huntress to go in and look at the whole environment. So it's really, really an unbelievable thing. The two other things that I did mention, I mentioned EDR, I mentioned ITDR. It also has SAT, which is basically security awareness training, um, where you can send videos to your end users for them to check out. It also sends fake emails, try to get them to click on it. And if they click on it, it says, gotcha, and makes them have to watch a little video of like why this was a bad thing to click on. And then Seam, which is basically a system that grabs event logs and shoves them into the cloud. You could do what's, when we could get into at some point in time, auditing in Windows Server and Windows Workstation. Like, tell me everything this user's doing, like everything, right? Tell me every single file he deleted, every single file he created. You can capture that stuff in logs, but typically they don't because the log files fill up so quickly. Now, let's say you've got a server with possibly hundreds of people accessing it. Those logs can really bloat a C drive really fast. So what Seam does is basically takes those logs, and instead of saving them on the server, they shoot directly into the cloud. Really cool shit. And then it's got a whole system where you can make reports and report on what was captured. So say, like you said, make a report, show me everything that Brian Valente did on this system between this date and that date, and it'll make a report. Show me every time Scott Arena logged in and logged off from the system between this date and that date. It'll make a report. So it does a lot of things. But like I said, there's other things that Huntress can do, like app control and security posture management, which is security posture management is actually built in. You can, if let's say your system is super secure and you want to really keep the bad guys out, you can increase your posture or decrease it depending on your needs. I've never found a reason to change the security posture because it's just fine being in the where it is. But let's say if you needed more stringent security, you would go there and set up rules for security in your system, like what to do when it discovers something. I have found that the defaults are just fine. But like I said, it's worth talking about, worth, bringing it up on the screen and showing it to you. So any questions? Don't all hit me at
No.
once, guys.
No, very self-explanatory, very thorough, very interesting.
Glad.
Great.
I'm put Huntress in my notes.
Yeah, I mean, you just go to the Huntress website. It's got tons of stuff about it that you can look up. And I was showing Christian this earlier today. You can, it's not meant per like for regular people. It's really meant for corporate rollouts. But you see, like their managed ITDR for the cloud protection, $4.80 per month per user, right? Managed EDR, $8.99 per endpoint per month per machine. When your company becomes a dealer, you get this for a lot less, and you can sell it at these prices and make a nice profit. So, like the managed EDR, we get for like $2 per unit, right? And because it's like $9 per month, we sell it for $8 per month, right? So people think they're getting a deal. And there's still a little wiggle room where we can make more money, like a little bit less money, but get the job, right? The ITDR, I think we get for $1.50 a month per user, right? So there's a nice profit margin built in for the dealers. Manage Seam for capturing logs. Let's say if only the only thing you had to capture was, let's say, your firewall, right? Boom, $4 per source, right? So that means you can capture 50 different types of logs from that one source, $4 a month. Have a nice day. I think we get charged $1. and what you call it, the teaching managed sat, $2.08. This is, of course, the retail price. Wholesale price, I think, is like $1.05 or something like that. So it's priced really well, right? So, any questions on that?
No, looks great.
Yeah, it's just go just Google Huntress security, and you end up here. Right? Take a look at the products, and do a deep dive into each one. And it tells you exactly what it does. Says a little video. It's cool shit. Right? There's a 5 million plus endpoints protected right now. That's going to go up very soon. So, anyway, it's after 9 o'clock. Time for me to turn into a sleeping person. And you guys, thanks for joining. And really, seriously, thanks for joining in.
This is great. You kidding me? I mean, these are excellent. All these sessions. I took that printer thing that you were talking about in the beginning of the session.
Yep.
Okay. So I
print
did.
BRM.
Yeah, I did a full document on it.
There you
No,
go.
actually, was it ADSI editing I did? That's what I did. That's what I did. The ADSI.
Oh, the ADSI is like deep as fuck. You can test how secure your LDAP is, your LDAP-S, right? Remember when I did this the certificate installation over at SA Lauder? I was working out of UNA at the time.
Yeah.
And I used ADSI Edit to test how secure my SSL certificates were within the domain, because it won't work it won't connect using LDAP-S without that certificate in place, right? So that's how I proved out that the certificates were working.
Oh, but what was the name of that print thing? What was it? Print what?
It's called Print BRM.
I'm going to develop that too. So I'm going to send you this document, and I guess you can look at it. Basically, I asked ChatGPT to, what did I say? Can you explain to me what ADSI edit is, what it does, and where it would best be used, and put it in a clean formatted Word document?
There you go.
And it did it.
Well, gotta love the AIs, man.
AI's
been a real game changer in our industry. Real game changer.
I'm telling you, I bought the subscription for ChatGPT. Best thing I ever did.
Oh yeah, I've had that for a while. That's what I got running that weird quantum physics experiment. That's just an AI experiment. I don't know if I'm gonna really figure out the universe.
Well, they're using AI at the Large Hadron Collider to figure out like how the universe came to be.
Well, that's what it said. It was like it's like we at this point we did so many calculations, and like we've actually found one thing that might, like, as a technical note, like it might be slightly more efficient than what they're using at the moment. And then there was like, let me check it. I was like, really? But I don't know. It could be slop. It could just be like lying.
The thing that blows my mind about quantum physics is quantum entanglement.
Oh yeah.
It really, like, it's so strange. Like you can, if a what you call a particle is spinning up, and you change it, that quantumly entangled particle could be a light year away. It could be 100 light years away. One could be in New York, the other one could be in California, and the other one changes instantly. So the mechanism for quantum entanglement is instantaneous across the universe, right? So if theoretically, if there was an entangled particle in the Andromeda galaxy, right, it would instantly change when you changed your particle here, and the fact that it changes only when it's being measured, right? That double slit experiment, like how
Yeah,
only when you're
that's what my
measuring it.
theory has to do with actually. My theory has to do like that I put in for the AI. It's saying like the which way information and the particles entangled in the detector, right? So like who's to, like and then Penrose is saying that gravity or gravitational energy is like the difference in geometries is what like creates collapse. But he never thought about like what if this is like the double slit? What if like this is like a slight collapse that's altering space time, making the which way information shoot it through like Newton's bullets, you know?
Kind of makes you like think about it, like how little we know about this stuff and
Yeah, no,
how
I'm
far we
staring
have to
at the
go.
ether. Yeah.
I was uh I was talking with someone who I know is a particle physicist, this guy Lonnie, who I sometimes go fishing with. Super nice guy. I mean, just absolute brilliant dude. His wife is an annoying bitch. Can't stand her because like they get where I know these people from, they all get together like in social gatherings and stuff like that. Like they go out to like a winery, they go out to a restaurant, everybody goes together. And Lonnie's a really super nice guy. He actually invented a device using a special kind of spark plug that increases your gas mileage like exponentially. Which I actually installed on my old. I had a Dodge 1500 truck, and he was trying to work out how it like could not fuck up with the onboard computer, but because Chrysler and all the big car makers, they don't let out that code. He couldn't really have any way to experiment with it except by trial and error. So he kind of used me as a guinea pig for that. But I had a conversation with him, kind of interesting. We were talking about like going to Mars and stuff like that. And I brought up a point to say it's not the propulsion that's the problem. We'll figure out the propulsion. We'll get stuff to move fast. We're Americans. We're really great at making things move fast. Okay. What is really going to be the kicker for space travel is going to be creating tiles on the floor that you see on Star Trek that create fake gravity, right? And you think about creating, let's say, the gravitational equivalent of the Earth, which is what, 16 quadrillion tons of mass, right? But have it only point in one direction. So people on the floor below you on the ship don't get stuck to the ceiling. You follow?
Oh yeah.
That's a sick bit of quantum physics to wrap your head around, right? Not only like creating fake mass on demand through some kind of energy field, right? And have it like at your beck and call, where like let's say what on Star Trek Enterprise when they were battling the Gorn, right, which Captain Kirk faced in one of the original series episodes, that big lizard guy. They had the Gorn come back in Star Trek Enterprise, and the way they beat it was they turned up the gravity, and the thing just stuck to the fucking floor. They killed it by gravitationally killing it.
By the way, that episode happens to be my last name. Thank you.
Yeah, the arena. That's right. Of the original series, I forget what
Yes. Yeah, the original.
episode. I think the Gorn was in that episode of Enterprise where they redid Mirror Mirror. Mirror Mirror was like where they went to like the alternate universe
My
in the
favorite.
original series. They did a remake of that episode, that double episode in Star Trek Enterprise, which was like really well done, really great.
I have to watch it.
Yeah, it's excellent, really excellent. And so anyway, that's all I got for tonight, kids. I'm gonna have a glass of scotch and fall asleep.
Well, you're
You
gonna
almost
have
figured the universe out.
you're gonna have that print BRM build. It's complete. It's rendering it to 11 pages, so it's gonna be done.
I want
The
to see
documentation.
that because I'm actually using it to migrate these printers from that file server that you saw called file server to the new server,
Yeah.
which is EOC file server 2. And in doing so, teach Tom how to do this, right? And thus save us a fuck ton of like drudgery that we don't need to do, right? If you
Right.
know, I asked ChatGPT, hey, is there a PowerShell script I could use for this? And the ChatGPT basically said, well, it's actually a utility that's included in Windows, and it's called Print BRM, and it does exactly what you want it to do, and it works pretty fucking good. so, so
Did you adjust your chat GPT to be have you adjusted it at all?
Oh, it knows all about me. It knows about my
Yeah,
band. It knows about the fishing. It knows about the motorcycle.
that's
It knows
fine. That's fine. But what I'm asking is, did you adjust it for when you're asking the questions to, for lack of a better phrase, not be as friendly, but be more concise and well, sort of terse, but not really in its
yes,
explanation to you, because you'll get better results with that.
yeah, with
I
tagging, right,
implemented a
right,
stand test, I call it. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. That's what I did. I just did that today because I watched this video. This guy was talking about how to make your chat GPT more scientific, or more give it more detail, or not be friendly, but not be, not as warm and fuzzy, if you will. But it gets right to the meat of things. That's what I'm trying to
I
do.
find that sometimes when you're doing a thing, right, it gives
Mhm.
you more like 5 steps in one spit, right?
Yeah.
And you want to tell it something in the middle of that, you have to kind of take it off track, right? So I tell it when I want to do this, I tell it, please give me one instruction at a time so we can go step by step through this. And in case I need to, copy and paste something back to you, I we don't get ahead of ourselves. And
Okay.
that's been effective. So it's another little thing that you can actually just tell the chat, um, to just give you one step at a time to do a thing. Remember when I was doing that migration from the ESXi server to the other ESXi server?
Yeah.
It was like getting way ahead of itself, and I had to tell it like, "Whoa, kid, slow down. Let's do this one
Mhm.
step at a time." And it actually apologized and said, "Yes, we'll do this one step at a time," and it did, and that made all the difference, because like when I got, let's say, an unexpected result with a command, I was able to just say, I just got that result with that last command. Could you please tell me, what I did wrong here? And we would go through step by step, and it made it a lot more efficient.
And what was the phrasing you used for that?
Basically, I just said, let's go through this one step at a time. And I
Gotcha.
explained to the chat that, because in case I get an unexpected result through one of the steps, that I can share it with you without breaking our stride. And it said,
Gotcha.
totally understand. We'll do it one step at a time as you wish, sir. And, basically it did exactly what I asked.
Nice. Well, I am
Yeah.
going. Okay, good. I have to remember that.
Yeah.
What I'm
It's a
doing,
good little trick.
yeah, no, definitely. I'm moving that. Okay, so I moved it. View as a list. Okay, so I'm going. Yeah, print BRM practical print guide. Why did that just do that? That's very strange. Okay, I'm going to give. Yeah, print brm.exe. Okay, good. So I have the reference guide, and yeah, this is weird, but it did something strange, but that's okay. I'll give you both docs. The ADSI is up there too, so you can mess up. I'm going to put it in the Google Drive for you so you can look at that print BRM.
Fantastic.
So that's done. Yeah, that's very fucked up. I don't know why that's doing that, but whatever. I'll just download another one and I'll replace it. Yeah. Yeah. Look at this, man. This is incredible. I am
I
so
love
obsessed
how
with this
I love
shit.
how the transcript that it captured for the meeting, every time I cursed, it put just dots.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's so funny. Why did that? Okay, this is very strange. That's not what I asked it to do. This is weird. Okay, maybe it got a little messed up with the titling. I
Well,
don't
when you
know.
get something that looks good, just shoot it over to me. I'd love to see it.
I'm shooting it over right now.
Fantastic.
You're gonna have it. You're gonna have it in like 5 seconds.
All right, so
I just-
I'm going to jump off, and the video will be up on the Google Drive first thing in the morning. Actually, not first thing in the morning. I've got to go to a client tomorrow morning, so I'm going to sometime during the day it'll get uploaded. But in the morning I'm going to be a little busy.
Fuck. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
No
kids.
problem. All right.
Everybody have a good night, and
Thank you.
I'm out of here.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rick.
You got
Thanks,
it.
Rick.
Very happy
All
to
right.
do it.
Bye.
All right,
Bye.
good night.
Good night.